to Stripe Dialogues. Today we are having with us General Raj Shukla. Welcome back, General Raj Shukla, to our show.
Sir, thank you, and it's बड़ा अच्छा लग रहा है as I see strive growing from strength to strength.
Yeah, Yeah, of course. Stripe Dialogues. We have made a concerted effort. हमने एक कोशिश की है कि एक community wise YouTube होना चाहिए, in the sense not particularly owned by an individual, but a group of people, especially giving chance to other veterans also to air their views. So that was
एक
the
मैं
aim.
छोटी सी बात कहना चाहूंगा सर.
हाँ हाँ बोलिए.
Since Strive is based in Lucknow,
हाँ जी.
Lucknow is my home
Yeah, yeah,
state.
yeah. I know that.
ये national security जो है सर,
Uh-huh.
for a long time it has been very elitist and confined
Yes,
to Delhi. It
correct,
must be decentralized and it must go to the streets. And Lucknow is the
correct.
right place. बिकॉज जैसे राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा जनता के बीच में जाएगी, मेरा ये समझ है कि जो कॉमन सेंसिकल अप्रोच है नेशनल सिक्योरिटी का, समटाइम्स
बिल्कुल.
इट इज वाइजर देन द एलिटिस्ट अप्रोच. सो इन लखनऊ इट मस्ट कैन बिकम अ स्ट्रांग रीजनल प्लेटफॉर्म.
बिल्कुल, आप आई थिंक आप बिल्कुल सही बोल रहे हैं। यही एक एम था जो कि हमने फ़ील किया यहाँ पर, हमारे कुछ वेटरन्स थे यहाँ पर, हमने डिसाइड किया कि भाई मिल कर के एक इस तरह का एक थिंक टैंक बनाएँ। और आपको जानकर अच्छा लगेगा कि हम 4 साल से हैं इस फ़ील्ड में अभी। आई मीन सिंस द टाइम आई रिटायर्ड, दिस ग्रुप वाज़ ऑलरेडी एक्जिस्टिंग, बट आफ्टर माय रिटायरमेंट वी टूक सम काइंड ऑफ अ फॉर्म, एंड उसके बाद से हमने आई थिंक ओवर 40 ऑड वेबिनार्स कराए हैं, आई मीन नेशनल एंड इंटरनेशनल लेवल के, प्लस सेमिनार्स कराए हैं, इंक्लूडिंग सेमिनार in collaboration with Economic Times, which was the chief guest was Mr. Rajnath Singh. So it was at the national level, and we had speakers from all over the country. Also youngsters, the startups, etc. It was on indigenization and Atmanirbhar Bharat in defense. So that was the theme of that webinar. That's seminar. That's been the approach of ours, basically to popularize it in this part of the world. So, and it will slowly spread as.
अगला जो
हाँ,
आपका बड़ा कार्यक्रम होगा सर, उसमें
बिल्कुल, आई विल इनवाइट
मुख्यमंत्री
यू।
जी को आमंत्रित कीजिए, योगी आदित्यनाथ जी
बिल्कुल
को.
करेंगे, मुख्यमंत्री जी को करेंगे और हम आपको भी इनवाइट करेंगे। सो चलते हैं आज के टॉपिक पर। आज का जो टॉपिक है चाइनीज इकोनॉमी, अ बैलेंस्ड पर्सपेक्टिव। ये देखा गया है कि कई आई वुड से 4-5 महीनों से या 1 साल से समझ लीजिए, एक इस तरह का नैरेटिव बिल्ड हुआ है जो कि प्राइमरीली मुझे लगता है कि वेस्टर्न ड्रिवन है, जो प्रोजेक्ट कर रहा है कि चाइनीज इकोनॉमी मेजर क्राइसिस में है। और उसके वैलिड रीजंस भी हैं, जैसे कि ज़ीरो कोविड जो ड्रैग हुआ है उनके ऊपर, उन्होंने कोविड के टाइम पे पूरा ब्लैंकेट क्लोज़ डाउन किया था, जिसकी वजह से उनकी इंडस्ट्री एंड इवन द ऑल अदर बिज़नेस एक्टिविटीज़ को धक्का लगा। इनफैक्ट काफ़ी डाउन हुई उनकी इकोनॉमी। फिर उनके जो टेक्नोलॉजी टाइटन्स वगैरह थे, आपको पता ही है, कई सारे कंट्री छोड़ के भी निकल गए हैं, उसका भी असर हुआ है। बट सबसे बड़ा जो इनका इन्वेस्टमेंट था रियल एस्टेट में था, वो बबल इनका फट गया। तो उसकी वजह से भी इनको बहुत मेजर नुकसान हुआ। हालांकि मुझे जो पता चला है कि नाउ दे आर टेकिंग सम करेक्टिव मेजर्स टू एनकरेज, बट डिस्पाइट दैट यू हैड द एवरग्लैंड जो बैंकरप्ट हो गई है, रियल एस्टेट कंपनी। देन the country, because of the reduced industrial production, investments, etc. की कमी से डिफ्लेशन की तरफ मूव करने लग गई है। इनफैक्ट इन्होंने टेक्निकल जायंट्स को पब्लिक सेक्टर की तरह ट्रीट करना शुरू कर दिया, जिससे कि उनकी जो ग्रोथ है उसमें एक रुकावट आनी शुरू हो गई। बैंकर्स के ऊपर उन्होंने काफ़ी सख्त सख्त वो लगा दिए, रूल और कायदे लगा दिए। लेकिन एक जो बड़ी चीज़ वो हुई कोविड के बाद, वो थी रशिया यूक्रेन वॉर। दिस आल्सो हैड अ मेजर इम्पैक्ट ऑन द ओवरऑल ग्लोबल ऑर्डर, तो उसके ऊपर तो इम्पैक्ट हुआ ही, बट इकोनॉमी के ऊपर भी लोगों को काफ़ी असर पड़ा इसका। और लास्टली आपको पता ही है कि चाइना इज़ द लार्जेस्ट एमिटर ऑफ CO2, तो क्लाइमेट चेंज का भी उनके ऊपर असर पड़ा है, फ्लड्स हुए हैं, फूड शॉर्टेजेस हुई हैं। सो ओवरऑल दे हैव हैड अ प्रॉब्लम। बट इज़ दैट द ट्रू स्टोरी? क्या ये ऐसी स्टोरी है कि अब चाइना एकदम डाउनहिल जा रहा है एंड इट विल नाउ नॉट बी एबल टू रिकवर? ये आपसे हम जानना चाहेंगे, वी वुड लाइक टू नो फ्रॉम यू एज टू वेयर इज चाइना heading. Can it revive itself? Does it have the resilience in it? So my first question to you, in fact, is, but before that, I would also like to substantiate certain things by these snapshots which I have taken. You know, this is it is picture बोलते हैं, पिक्चर जो है ना, स्टोरी खुद बता देती है। आप देखिए यूएस और चाइना का जो जीडीपी शेयर है ऑलमोस्ट इक्वल होने जा रहा है। अ, अ, उसके बाद उन्होंने काफ़ी अग्रेसिव जियोपॉलिटिक्स शुरू करी है डिस्पाइट द वीकनेस व्हिच वी हैव जस्ट हाइलाइटेड। यहाँ तक कि वो ही डजंट वांट टू कम टू जी20 समिट जो सितंबर में इंडिया में हो रहा है, उसके पीछे पॉलिटिकल रीजंस हैं या कुछ और रीजंस हैं, यू कुड हाइलाइट दैट आल्सो। देन यू नो वही दोबारा थ्री वॉरफेयर वाली स्ट्रेटजी शुरू कर दी है, मैप शैप निकालने शुरू कर दिए हैं उन्होंने, विच शोज अरुणाचल प्रदेश एंड what do you call Aksai Chin as part of their territory. Then you know, on a small little thing like VP of vice premier of Taiwan going to US, and they launch a exercise, you know, full-fledged exercise around Taiwan. So such like activities, you know, aggressive geopolitics जिसकी आप बात कर रहे थे informal discussion में भी, ब्रिक्स समिट के बाद जो उनका जो राइटअप्स आए हैं ग्लोबल टाइम्स में और पीपल्स डेली वगैरह में, उसमें लिखा है कि ब्रिक्स समिट शुड सर्व एज अ वेक अप कॉल फॉर इंडिया। और दिस इज समथिंग एंड दिस इज अ हेडलाइन, ऑफ कोर्स इनसाइड कुछ बातें ऐसी हैं जो कि इतनी वो नहीं है इसमें, इट इज नॉट दैट टेलिंग, बट द हेडलाइन इज वेरी टेलिंग। फिर ये मैप का तो मैंने बात जिक्र कर ही लिया था, नया मैप शुरू किया उस मुझसे याद, मुझे इस बात से याद आता है ना वो सुनील बाबू वाला जोक, नया घर नई नई गाड़ी नई बीवी। तो उसी तरह से वो बार बार वो टोटोलॉजी ऑफ थ्री वॉरफेयर रिपीट कर रहे हैं। सो विद दैट वी विल hit on to the first question which we have, and that is how do you see the Chinese economy moving forward in the future? That's that's the in the light of what we have just said.
सर मैं इसमें दो तीन बातें कहना चाहूंगा
हम्म,
कि टुडे आज का जो चाइना है उसमें कई ऐसी चीजें हैं जिससे जी साहब परेशान है। इट्स नॉट
हाँ
ओनली द
जी,
इकोनॉमी, देयर आर लार्जर इश्यूज, सो दैट इज वन थिंग। इसमें कोई
या
शक नहीं है कि प्रेसिडेंट शी की जो मुसीबतें हैं वो बढ़ी हैं,
हम्म
बट द लार्जर इशू इज दैट क्या ये मुसीबतें इतनी गहरी हैं that they should be viewed as deep structural worries, या ये there are blips। अब एक किताब है सर टॉमस ऑर्लिक की जो कहते हैं जिसकी हेडिंग है चाइना द बबल दैट नेवर पॉप्स। तो
ओके,
कई बार 4 डिकेड्स में कई बार लोगों ने
इसके
मतलब ये
बबल की बात
है कि बस चाइना ध्वस्त हो गया हो, ध्वस्त
बिल्कुल,
हुआ नहीं for various reasons. So that is one way of looking at China. दूसरी बात ये है सर कि बड़े दिनों से हमने ये कहा है कि साहब इट इज द इकोनॉमी स्टूपिड। बड़े इकोनॉमिस्ट कहते हैं इट्स द इकोनॉमी, इट्स द इकोनॉमी, इट्स द इकोनॉमी। मेरा मानना ये है कि अभी जो विश्व में जो ग्लोबल बैलेंस ऑफ पावर की स्थिति है उसमें द डिटर्मिनेंट ऑफ फ्यूचर पावर विल ऑफ कोर्स बी द इकोनॉमी। आई एम नॉट अंडरप्लेइंग द इकोनॉमी,
या
मैं दोबारा कह रहा हूं, इट इज ऑफ कोर्स द इकोनॉमी, बट द इकोनॉमी इज नॉट द ओनली फैक्टर।
दैट्स
आप
इम्पोर्टेंट।
देखिए जो यूक्रेन में का नतीजा होगा उसका असर ताइवान पे पड़ेगा, और जो ताइवान का नतीजा होगा उसका ग्लोबल बैलेंस ऑफ पावर पे पड़ेगा। वो ये निश्चित करेगा कि अगला सुपर पावर कौन है। सो द बैलेंस ऑफ पावर गेम हैज शिफ्टेड in terms of hard power to other metrics or metrics other than the economy. So the instrument of force, whether you can win wars, supply chains, technologies, economy महत्वपूर्ण है, but it is not the sole determining factor. मैं आपको 10 आंकड़े दे दूंगा जो ये कहेंगे कि साहब चाइना कल सुबह जो है खत्म हो जाएगा, और मैं
खत्म होने
आपको
वाला
10 दे दूंगा कि चाइना को कुछ नहीं होगा। सो इट्स नो पॉइंट गोइंग इनटू द इकोनॉमिक डेटा, but the larger balance of power. मेरा मानना ये है जिसको हमने जिसका हमने विश्लेषण करना चाहिए ताकि हमको पता लगे कि भाई what is the direction in which China is trending and how is the balance of power swinging.
Yes.
Because जैसे आपने अभी बताया सर, the two economies are very close, $24 trillion, $19 trillion. एक जॉर्ज यो हैं सिंगापुर के, वो कहते हैं Chinese per capita income is 1/5 of the United States. Yes. अगर वो 1/3 हो गई, आधी भी हो गई, तो Chinese economy will be larger than USA and EU put together.
Yes.
China और ASEAN की economy is $1 trillion. USA and EU is $905 billion. तो साहब जो वेस्ट है परेशान है चाइना से, चाइना ने परेशान कर दिया है. Yet there are worries. Let me recount the worries. Worries ये, अगर मैं जी हूं सर, मेरे को worries क्या है?
ये बताइए.
जैसे आपने ये बात की सर, one of his tragic mistakes was getting after Jack Ma. Jack Ma was Elon Musk and Bill Gates rolled into one. He was a rock star in China.
Yeah.
आप उसकी economies देख लीजिए सर, transportation, commerce, e-commerce, energy, हर चीज में. और वो he was again a chap जो कि बहुत ही he came from a very humble background and he had bought business success in communist China. वो बड़ा प्रिय था. उसकी जब पॉलिटिकल प्रोफाइल बढ़ी तो सीसीपी और जी साहब घबरा गए और वो जैक मा के पीछे पड़े. And what you were saying, sir, there are articles, 2 articles in the Foreign Affairs which say because he's got after people like Jack Ma, ये जो इकोनॉमिक कॉम्पैक्ट था कि अगर आप पॉलिटिक्स में दखल नहीं देंगे तो हम आपकी जो ये एंटरप्रेन्योरियल टेंडेंसीज हैं इनमें हम दखल नहीं देंगे. बट सीसीपी घबरा गया जैक मा से और इस सब से. और ये जो क्लैम डाउन हुआ है सर, नाउ दे से कि भाई साहब कोविड खत्म हो गया लेकिन जो इकोनॉमिक कोविड है वो नहीं खत्म हुआ.
बिल्कुल.
तो जी ने जो ये क्लैम डाउन किया है अबाउट फ्रीडम, अबाउट फ्री मार्केट इकोनॉमीज, जैसे सर आप देखिए अभी उनकी यूनिवर्सिटीज वगैरह में कई ऐसी जगह हैं जहां पे थिंग्स लाइक मीडिया फ्रीडम्स कैन नॉट बी डिस्कस्ड. ये जो कोविड लॉकडाउन्स हुए हैं, दिस वर ऑल लेफ्ट टू द कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी एंड इट इज लाइक लीविंग इट टू एनी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी कार्डर इन इंडिया. अगर आपने उसको बोला साहब आप लॉकडाउन करो तो क्या होगा? ऑल काइंड्स ऑफ थिंग्स हैपन. दिस हैज पुट डाउन द इकोनॉमी एंड द इन्वेस्टर in many ways.
Yeah.
So absolutely you're right. For the first time, China's economic growth is lagging behind the larger economic growth of Asia. Yes. Unemployment is 30-40%, which is very high. There are a lot of things to worry. अच्छा सर, 2-3 चीजें और हो गई हैं. उसने बड़ी मोहब्बत से ये रॉकेट फोर्स को खड़ा किया था और ये जो रॉकेट फोर्स के जनरल हैं वही they are involved in sex pleas and informational compromise. And he's so worried because the rocket force is just not a rocket force. It is the nuclear deterrent of a 21st century superpower. So agar aap, he cannot trust them for secrets. How will he trust them with this? आप Chinese social media में जाइए sir. I believe there was a meeting in Bedahi where he was telling these people कि आपने मेरे को बर्बाद कर दिया है. Do you want me to die? He is unhappy with the corruption with Communist Party cadres. It is like a CEO sir of the Indian Army who comes to the morning for a conference and he curses everybody from the CHM upwards. जब कुछ नहीं चल रहा है ठीक पलटन में. These are social media के posts हैं ये सब. Social media posts आ रहे हैं जो ये कह रहे हैं कि साहब Xi will be the last emperor of the Chinese Communist Party. So there are things to worry beyond this. अच्छा सर, ये बड़ा इनका ये Xi is very focused on getting Taiwan back. अब वहाँ problems हो रही हैं. जो चाइना के CMC के वाइस चेयरमैन हैं, he has gone on record to say that it is a receding strategic opportunity. अगर ताइवान आपने अभी नहीं किया तो जो पुशबैक हो रहा है एलाइज वगैरह के साथ, it will become more and more difficult. America is waking up to the reality of Taiwan. You see what they are doing in the Indo-Pacific in terms of their missile defense and exercises, USS
Yeah.
Kentucky in the Korean Peninsula, बड़ा pushback हो रहा है. तो
Yes.
हर दिन जब आप ताइवान को डिले कर रहे हैं, आपकी मुश्किलें बढ़ती जा रही हैं. एक उनका पॉलिटिकल कॉमिसार है एनडीयू का, वेरी रिस्पेक्टेड मैन, सोल्जर स्कॉलर उसको बोलते हैं, नाम मेरे को याद नहीं, बट दैट्स इररिलेवेंट. He has been charged with encouraging negativity over Taiwan. ये जो रॉकेट फोर्स के जनरल्स हैं इन पे जो कार्रवाई हुई है, इस वजह से भी हुई है, because they were not very gung ho on Taiwan. So what
अच्छा,
problem, sir?
before you go further, sorry to interrupt you, since you tickled a chord in my mind about the rocket force. Although you have spoken about it in the past also, do you think the entire rocket force controversy or that saga, somewhere the CIA also had its hand in
Oh,
it?
yes, absolutely. I'm one of the few people who think that. You see, William Burns बहुत ये जो पूरा पीसफुल राइज का फसाद था, this actually fooled the Americans. इसने सर हेनरी किसिंजर जैसे महानुभाव का बेवकूफ बनाया. माइकल पिल्सबरी कहते हैं, नहीं, इट्स अ फैक्ट, माइकल पिल्सबरी कहते हैं कि किसिंजर थॉट ही वाज ओपनिंग अप टू चाइना. The Chinese were drilling a hole in the American framework. 1950 में सर Mao and Chow and Lai, they either go or they make a plea before Roosevelt and Marshall कि साहब, we are like you, give us your technology and your money, we are not communists, one day we'll become like you. तो ये जो पूरा पीसफुल राइज का शरारत था, and you read this book, Sir, Spies and Lies by Alex Joske, the MSS, Ministry of State Security, इन्होंने बड़ा बेवकूफ बनाया वेस्ट को, बॉब हॉक ये वो. So the intelligence agencies are getting back. CIA has, in my view, some kind of role in this informational compromise. ये जो रॉकेट फोर्स के जो जनरल थे, इनका जो लड़का पढ़ रहा था जिसके जरिए ये सीक्रेट्स लीक हुई हैं, इट कैन नॉट बी इनोसेंट. और ये जो चाइनीज के फॉरेन मिनिस्टर सैक हुए हैं, इसलिए सैक हुए थे बिकॉज ही वाज हिज कॉन्फिडेंट, बट जब ये लीक हुई, because of his linkage with that mistress of his food, he delayed reporting it. This is all over Chinese social media. And Burns has got elevated to cabinet rank. Why? William Burns has got elevated to cabinet rank. So I have no definite information, but this is the way these worlds operate. So the rocket force controversy reflects a deeper malaise in the sense कि जिन लोगों पे जी ने विश्वास किया, because rocket force is a 2016 creation, जितने जनरल्स हैं वो जी के खुद के हैं, खुद के चुने हुए हैं, और उसमें 10 जनरल्स have proved to be of dubious integrity. तो ये जो मसले हैं सर, these are the things that are worrying Xi and they are worrying China, because he has made this the unification of Taiwan as one of the central planks of his presidency. और मैं जो पहली बात कह रहा था सर, you look at why I'm saying this, you know, this why the military component is important. आप यूक्रेन देख लीजिए. Today people are asking questions of America कि आप $900 billion खर्च करते हैं अमेरिकन मिलिट्री पर, और पिछले 30 सालों में they have not won a single war. अफगानिस्तान में हार गए, इराक में हार गए, लिबिया, सीरिया, यूक्रेन में हार रहे हो. So if the military cannot underwrite foreign policy initiatives, किस काम की? So the question is that if, so now this is the narrative which China is peddling, and this is what we should worry about. China ये कहता है कि साहब democracies preach, but they don't deliver. They don't even protect. और जो आपने अभी दिखाई है, जो ये ब्रिक्स वगैरह की कहानी, यही है. Much of the global south is being told by China कि ये अमेरिका वगैरह ये बात करेंगे, they will not protect you, they will not come to your rescue. जापान और साउथ कोरिया के साथ कैम्प डेविड समिट करना एक बात है, but are Japan, South Korea and USA going to commit their forces, blood and treasure in the first island chain? सवाल ये है. जब आपने यूक्रेन में नहीं किया, अभी आप मेरे को बताइए सर, you have launched a counter offensive in Ukraine. In my view, the first modern counter offensive without air power. You are
Yes.
butchering these Ukrainians. अब ये क्या है साहब कि F-16 अगले साल देंगे हम. This consistent narrative of the Americans, the Chinese are saying कि they will not save you. मैं आपको एक छोटा सा statistic देता हूँ. Out of, I'm told, 170 countries in Latin America, the Middle East, Indo-Pacific, Asia, or 175 countries, only 5 have joined in sanctions against Russia. The rest are hedging. So in terms of balance of power, if the West does not win Ukraine, they do not intervene decisively in Ukraine, economy को आप छोड़ दीजिए, the balance of power is shifting, in my view, increasingly towards China. Primarily because the West is not delivering on ground. It has got nothing to do with the economy. So
Okay.
मुद्दा है ये है मेरे समझ में.
Okay, so since you took on to this direction, my next question to you is that do you see the Russian visit to Russian president's visit, Putin's visit to China now, which is going to take place very shortly, uh, due to Russia-Ukraine war or due to the factor of Taiwan, which you just mentioned, as far as China is concerned? Because you said that China, I mean, Xi Jinping's one of the priorities probably in his lifetime is to unify Taiwan. And if they can't do it now, they can't do it ever thereafter because of the pushback which the various alignments are, I mean, whatever be the case, whether it is Camp David summit, 3 countries, or the AUKUS or the Quad, you take all of them together, they are a formidable alliance against the Chinese. So, how do you see the Russian president's visit to China, which is going to take place very soon after the G20, I suppose?
उससे पहले सर मैं दो बातें कहना चाहूंगा बहुत संक्षिप्त में. One thing I have not understood कि अगर मैं बीजिंग में बैठा हूँ, if I am a Chinese, all logic tells me that मैं भारत से दोस्ती बढ़ाऊं ताकि मैं यूएसए का मुकाबला कर सकूं. But ये जो चाइना का इंसिस्टेंस है on making an enemy out of India, it defies all geostrategic logic. मेरे को समझ नहीं आता क्या है. मतलब बेवकूफी की एक उद्भुत मिसाल है. So that is one point.
हिंदी में बोलते हैं पराकाष्ठा है. हिंदी में बोलते हैं पराकाष्ठा.
ये मेरे को आज तक समझ में नहीं आई कि ये क्या है. दूसरा जो आपने कहा सर, just as America is having a problem in Ukraine, China's true test of powerhood will come when it executes Taiwan. That is the true test of powerhood, not 9% growth or 10% growth. That is the easier thing to do.
That is the.
When you do Taiwan, there are 100 questions. Will that amphibious assault succeed? और यहाँ ये बात है सर कि चाइना ने ये पीएलए को इतना एक ग्रैंड वे में खड़ा किया है, रॉकेट फोर्स, स्ट्रेटेजिक सपोर्ट फोर्स. या अगर इसने डिलीवर कर दिया, चाइना इज द नेक्स्ट सुपर पावर. But if it doesn't deliver on Taiwan, it will put its superpowerhood back by about 2 decades. Now let's come to this other question, sir. See, again, the problem with democracies. India and USA are, whatever they keep saying, those cliches, largest and oldest democracy. उसके बावजूद जहां तक टेक्नोलॉजिकल कोलैबोरेशन की बात आती है, हमने अपने दरमियान इतने ऑब्स्टिकल्स खड़े कर दिए हैं, आईटार, ये कंट्रोल, वो कंट्रोल, that you cannot collaborate technologically. And China has got no agreement with you and it has plucked the technology out from under your eyes, under your nose. अब ये एक विडंबना है. अब जब हम कहते हैं साहब अलायंसेस नहीं हैं, पार्टनरशिप्स नहीं है, चलिए वो हमारा मानना है. Can you tell me what are the inferences or deductions from a friendship without limits? क्या है? मतलब friendship without limits. They just say friendship without limits. So yes. I'm saying this friendship without limits may be more powerful than any other formal partnership amongst democracies because it is unstated.
Yeah, it's open-ended.
Open-ended. So I'm saying Chinese leverages on Russian foreign policy are increasing. They will put pressures on the Indo-Russian relationship. At some point, will the resilience, the strains on the resilience be so strong that it snaps? I'm not saying it will. Both the countries have shown enough wisdom to make sure it doesn't. But at
Yes.
some point, if I know the Chinese, they have made up their minds that they will isolate India from Russia or Russia from India. Now, whether they succeed or not is a different matter. But they play it hard. They play it hard. So, bilkul, ye visits and all should really worry us.
Yes, that's
The
right.
proximity of China and Russia should worry us. What actually happens, God knows. But ये जो visit वगैरह है, because I'm very sure if I'm a Beijing man, I made up my mind that I must isolate India from Russia. So that
Yeah.
is my answer to
So
this question.
if that be your the finishing line, that I must isolate India and take India out of the even regional competition as we look at the global picture, you also find that this you mentioned that China is actually going through economic problems, that's given, but it is also going through internal problems of military nature, like the rocket force, etc. Even there has been, I believe, within the PLA there have been some differences with the Xi Jinping cohort. So yet Xi Jinping is playing hardball. He's doing a very aggressive geopolitics across the world, whether it is Taiwan, whether it is India, or whether it is against the US. How do you explain this contradiction? अंदर से मैं कमजोर हूँ, but बाहर से I am still trying to project a image as though I am in control of everything. Because, like you said, until and unless you show it on the ground that you do have the gumption to go for war, really speaking, you will not be considered seriously as far as your superpower status goes or major power status goes. That way, Russia is probably graded much higher than the Chinese in terms of hard power.
So एक किताब है sir, The Long Game by Russ Doshi. He is an American who's now in the NSCS.
Okay.
वो एक बात कहती है, you see Z, the Chinese are very uh, uh, good, or they like to uh, model current day events on history. So there was a Chinese general who was called Bismarck. He was a Chinese Bismarck. He had said, he had used a phrase, great changes not seen in 3,000 years, before the Chinese century of humiliation. And he had warned China that Japan is growing, technology is coming, great changes not seen in 3,000 years. So if you don't gear up, you are in for trouble. The wider Chinese community did not listen to him, and China suffered that 100-year humiliation. Xi is
Yes.
paraphrasing him. He's saying 3,000 changes not seen in 2,000 years, meaning this is China's moment, and we must rise to the occasion. दूसरा ये जो China के ideologues हैं, they don't think like the West. I am paraphrasing one of those ideologues who said, enough of wealth. The time has come to convert this wealth into superpowerhood. So that wealth is what? Superpower is what? It is Taiwan, it could be Arunachal, unification of sacred Chinese territories. Now, this is how the Chinese think. I am not saying that it will happen, but so the Z mindset has to be understood in this. They don't get too carried away by 9% growth, 8% growth, crowds in malls, McDonald's doing well. They are just one facet of life. उनका ये जो powerhood है, it is a different thing. So they sense this moment कि ये चाइना का समय आ गया है, but this powerhood must be of a different kind. So Taiwan is very high on their agenda, technology, supply chains, business. So this is how Xi looks at the world. And amongst the Chinese leaders of the recent past, I'm told he's a bigger risk taker than most of them. He has been visiting Eastern Theatre Command. He has been nursing the PLA. PLA को वो कह रहा है कि be 1,000% ready before you take Taiwan. So
Yeah.
Taiwan is a possibility. And I'm saying that he is a little less cautious when it comes to committing the military instrument. And you see, there is this guy, Neil Ferguson. He has made this point many years ago. It is proving right. He says Cold War 2.0 has begun. Ukraine is like Korea of Cold War 1.0. अभी लोग कह रहे हैं साहब कि what is the end state? Korean armistice may go on for so many years. And he says Taiwan will be like the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Okay.
So it could be. अच्छा सर, आप एक मैं एक चीज बोलना पाऊंगा, आप बाकी चीजें छोड़ दीजिए. When it comes to pure balance of power theories, यूएसए का, इसमें यूएसए की धारणा क्या है? अमेरिका ये कहता है साहब, I must have the freedom to roam the globe. There must be no regional hegemon. तो यूरोप में अगर रशिया उठेगा, मैं उसको उसकी जगह पे लगा दूंगा. This is why they are doing everything that they are doing in Ukraine. और दूसरा, इंडो पैसिफिक में अगर कोई रीजनल हेजेमन उभरेगा, which is China, we will do something. And what has China done? I'm not saying, they have directly encouraged it, but tacit support to make sure that USA gets bogged down in Europe. It cannot come to the Indo-Pacific. And if the war is going the way it is, मेरा तो ये मानना है that Russia is winning the war, USA will find it increasingly difficult to pivot to the Indo-Pacific. If Russia is seen to be winning the war in Europe, what will it do to China? It will make it bolder. What will it do to the allies, Japan, South Korea? I have heard in many discussions that Japan has privately told the Chinese that, listen, if you do Taiwan, we will not intervene. South Korea has told the Americans that if China does Taiwan, don't count on us. We have North Korea to bother about. So if USA does not make sure that Ukraine wins, what will it do to allies? So that's why I'm saying economy तो एक बड़ा छोटा खेल है. ये the balance of power has entered far more dangerous territory. And this is the way we must look at China and its intersect with the balance of power politics.
Okay, so if this is what you are saying, are you implying that come Russia-Ukraine war decision, or not even decision, a phase where Ukraine is not out but absolutely down, would that lead to Xi Jinping trying his hand on Taiwan? And if he does so, let's say in the next 6 to 7 months, what kind of a alignment do you see happening? Global alignment do you see happening at that point in time? Where will be India in that case?
So
This is a
global.
this is a hypothetical situation, but it could occur.
It's not hypothetical, it's happening. So आप देखिए क्या हो रहा है सर. आप इंडो पैसिफिक में देख लीजिए, two distinct alliances are emerging. China, North Korea, Russia. और रोजाना ड्रिल्स हो रहे हैं.
Yes.
Drills, military drills. Japan, South Korea, USA. If USA doesn't win in Ukraine, if the Ukrainians cannot remove Russians from occupied territory, what conclusions will Japan and South Korea draw with respect to American commitment? See, the point is really not Taiwan. Why are the Americans so worried? They are worried because if they cannot save Taiwan, that's the end of their hub and spoke alliance in the Indo-Pacific. Which treaty ally will believe in the Americans any longer? So this is the larger question. The American military has to deliver. What is $900 billion? अगर हर जगह आप
हार रहे हो, अगर हर जगह हार रहे हो.
American military power was supposed to underwrite foreign policy.
Yes.
And this is by the way, also the narrative the Chinese are sending. वो कह रहे हैं कि साहब ये we are autocratic, but we don't preach. We may be a communist country, but we stand by our word. What is America doing to all its allies? Why have Saudi Arabia and the others pivoted?
Yes.
So ये जो China का influence है, China is winning the argument not on the basis of values and democracy, but on the basis of deliverance. And I and you who are die-hard Democrats, my plea is that democracies must start delivering. Democracies must stop lecturing. You have to win in Ukraine. World War II, mein sir, why did the democracy surge? Because we showed that democratic orders are better in delivery. We will also win wars. उसके बाद आप हर लड़ाई हारते हो. तो ये जो
But
$900 billion है, ये किस
but
बात पे खर्च हो रहा है?
but as it has normally been seen in the past also, that the Democratic Alliance or the so-called allies, even in the past, in the initial phases, these guys have got a solid drumming, whether it was the Germans who did them or in the First World War. It is only in the second phase of a big war that the Democrats have actually come together and then pushed back the offensive. Do you see something like that happening even now? Because
तो
people
आपने
are skeptical.
you have raised a wonderful point. So this is exactly how Ukraine happened. पहले लगा कि Russia will do everything, and Russia, itself, its machinery didn't deliver. And यूक्रेन में जितना heroism था ज़ेलेंस्की का और ये सब, एक समय आया जब खार्किव और खरसन उन्होंने उस पे कब्जा किया, तो ऐसा लग रहा था यूक्रेन will start delivering. फिर आपने कहा साहब हम F-16 नहीं देंगे, ammunition हमारे पास नहीं है. The Russian military-industrial complex has proved superior to America.
In terms
The
of
Ukrainians are firing 100,000 artillery shells every week. The mighty Americans can only supply 100,000 rounds in a month. So, what you said, in the long run, America should have been winning. अब आप कह रहे हो
yes,
साहब F-16 पे ट्रेनिंग होगी, वो अगले साल आएंगे. If American soldiers were involved, would the F-16s have come or not? तो अमेरिका की ये जो नीति है that American interest first, thereafter NATO, and then Ukraine. Then why did you provoke Ukraine in the first phase? Why did you say Orange Revolution, ये वो? तो ये मुद्दे हैं. And there are larger issues. I'm saying America is failing. China is yet untested. If it doesn't deliver in Taiwan, if it doesn't deliver to its allies, even Chinese superpowerhood is not guaranteed. So this is the larger point I'm making, that the metric of powerhood is not the economy alone. It has been overrated. It is delivering on your harder instruments of power, national security. And the lesson for India is, if I may just make one short point, Walter Mead says, 2014 we have entered the pre-war era. 2014. And he's right. उससे आप देखिए उसके बाद से ये झगड़े बढ़ रहे हैं. So what will save India, what will strengthen India is the manner in which it leverages its hard power and its instrument of force. So we have this time, we must learn these lessons and do much more with our instrument of force than we are doing. There has to be greater haste and urgency.
Okay, so let's come down a little bit. I think we've had enough strategic geopolitical discussion. Now that you have projected a line that unless you prove yourself, that is for the Chinese, on ground militarily, you are unlikely to be considered as a superpower. How do you compare the two forces as of today? It is said that the PLA has the largest air force, largest navy. Of course, the quality of the aircraft, I mean, the equipment, etc., may be lower than the US. So, how do you compare these two forces if they come to battle, or if they come to war? Battle to if they come to war over any issue, whether it is Taiwan or whether it is, a trigger can be very small. Even in the past, the Second World War, also the triggers were very, very small. But once it started off, everything went ballistic. So, how do you compare the two forces, and where does India now fit into this? Because India is also one of the major affected parties in this kind of a confrontation if it takes place.
तो जहां तक सर ये ताइवान का सवाल है, if it comes to exchange of blows over Taiwan, in my view, the determining factor will be the rocket force and the strategic support force.
Okay.
If it is fluff, then USA prevails. If it is not fluff, USA has a serious problem on its hands. Now look at how the Americans are reacting to the rocket force and all. Admiral Paparo, the commander of the Pacific Fleet and now CNC IPACOM designate, has said that the DF-21s and DF-26s have altered the principles of naval warfare along the coastline, Chinese coastline.
Mm-hmm.
Aircraft carriers which saved Taiwan in the earlier crisis, the first Taiwan crisis, second time, they will not be able to enter the second island chain. The Americans are worried the way they are, beefing up their THAAD, Aegis, and Patriot missile filters for their radars and OPIR satellites, dispersing B-52 bombers. ये जो उनका CNC IPACOM है, he has said that we are short for ammunition in the Indo-Pacific. So for the many years that they focused on Iraq, Afghanistan, their military has been, shall I say, not well resourced for big power competition. तो पहले जो अमेरिका की overwhelming supremacy थी वो तो नहीं है. China का problem ये है that since 1979 they have not been blooded in battle. तो ये जो rocket force वगैरह है, which on paper sounds very good, it has to deliver. But I'm quoting an American analyst who says that the Chinese ballistic, cruise, and hypersonic missiles are the most potent missile system amongst modern militaries. It is really worrying the Americans. Not only first island chain, second island chain, the Navy is operating between them, also Guam, all the way to Hawaii. So this is, the Americans are feeling that their ability to project force in the first island chain is seriously threatened. And if that happens, this amphibious assault can succeed. So there are question marks both ways. But you see from the past, when the Chinese could not fly a plane over the Taiwan Strait, where has their military muscle come to? So it is very much a near-peer competitor game. But we know in war, sir, all kinds of things can happen. So you cannot underwrite anything. But the fact that America has come to this pass is itself worrying. There were one time they had uncontested supremacy. Now it is contested supremacy. The lessons for India kya hai? In my view, after the rebalancing and all, there is not so much to worry along the LAC. Zameen nahi jayegi. We have enough ways of taking care of that. But equally honestly, we must admit that the Chinese lag in these other domains, rocket force, strategic support force, digital combat, ये सारे domains में the lag is growing. We must do something about this. And therefore, we all know, sir, declining battle is also a strategic option. So if we say कि LAC में कुछ नहीं होगा, we must also bide our time and build these capacities. So we must be wise over this whole thing. The problem with in the Chinese context is if we let jingoism take over our better sets. So I'm saying Chinese are not 11 feet tall. LAC वगैरह पे हम उनसे निपट लेंगे. But ये जो IOR है, ballistic force, rocket force, strategic support force, technologies, इस पे बहुत लोग बोल चुके हैं. These will be of substantive impact in a future conflict. And this is what should worry India. This is what should worry India. और जैसे मैंने ये बात कही सर कि it makes all sense for China to befriend India. अगर वो नहीं कर रहा है तो क्या मुद्दा है? तो यही मुद्दा है कि साहब, as the Chinese say in their slang, there can be only one tiger on a hill. अब वो कौन सा टाइगर है उसके लिए झगड़ा करना पड़ेगा. हम करना नहीं चाहते हैं, but they are forcing us. So let me also make this last point, sir. If we do all these things and we just radiate deterrence, the Chinese will back off. But if you don't do these things and don't radiate deterrence, war will come on you. तो अभी जब हम क्वेश्चन करते हैं कि साहब this is so expensive, that is so expensive, the real question is that deterrence is costly, but wars are costlier. So we must invest in these, not for war mongering with China, but to deter them. तो ये मेरी समझ है सर, ये मेरा.
Okay, so we must radiate deterrence. That's a punchline I think I've got from this entire discussion. And But the question is how to operationalize this, in the Indian conditions. Given the fact you mentioned in the passing that we continue to say that this is costly, that it's difficult, we don't have the expertise, etc., etc. We can only go through JVs and getting the private sector in. But on ground, you find that the movement is very slow. Whether it is joint development, whether it is innovative technologies, you find that China today is actually leading ahead of the US as far as artificial intelligence and niche technologies are concerned. In fact, it's now been written by a number of guys who are stating this in the US itself, that the Chinese have taken a lead as far as hypersonics, for example. They are ahead of the Americans. So we seem to just stop at the technology demonstration level, and thereafter, I don't know what happens. We get into some kind of inertia, and we're not focusing, depending too much on the government agencies to do things. Can you suggest some measures? How do we radiate deterrent specific measures if you have any in mind?
Bilkul, sir. So just like in April, last April, this April, I mean, the 2-3 months back, America appointed Dr. John Moore, VP of AI Google Cloud, as the AI advisor in Pentagon to drive generative AI through the military.
Okay.
In 1 month's time, why can't we do this? Isme kya consensus chahiye? You have to pick a civilian mind and appoint him and say, you are going to take care of data because data is the new engine of war, and do this, start doing this. What is the debate required in this? Do that. Tell him that you have two short-term objectives. AI enable Northern Command. Create a tri-service cloud. Choti baatein. Missiles may we have great advantage, but why are we satisfied with BrahMos firing at 400 kilometers?
That's right.
We have to first understand what this whole business of rocket force is and how it is linked to space. अगर सर जो थिएटर कमांड्स हैं उनमें कुछ सहमति नहीं है, अगर झगड़ा है, a multi-domain command can be set up 2 months from now. Pick up the brightest Air Force officer who's in line for CDS or whatever and tell him your job is to raise a space, cyber, EM model on the SSF. ये क्यों नहीं हो सकता? This is deterrence. Moment China knows that we have started doing all this, you speak to any commander along the LAC, after Kailash and all, China is severely rattled. He knows कि वहां तुम उसको ठीक कर देंगे वो कुश्ती में. But वो बेचारे, the chaps who are doing all that, they need all these technologies which is not coming. ये 3-4 चीजें हैं, सर क्यों नहीं हो सकती?
Yeah, if you could digitize India, I mean, today India is the largest user of UPI, Aadhaar. I mean, even your health, it is considered as the number one innovation in the world. But
look at Chandrayaan-3, sir. Look at Chandrayaan-3. But the problem is what? और ये मेरा मानना है. The astrophysics of space in defense is very different from astrophysics of space in exploration. ISRO cannot deliver military capabilities. The TSA in partnership with private sector has to do it. जो जनरल भट्ट का आउटफिट है, तो ये सारी जो है सर इसकी नींव डली है. अगर थोड़ा सा पेस और स्केल हो जाए, बिल्कुल China will back off. This is deterrence. और कोई deterrence is no fancy issue. So these are the
but the capabilities have to show on the ground. Unless you build those capabilities, radiation won't take place. That's the
so let me give you one more practical example, sir. So Elon Musk has launched 42,000 LEO satellites, or that is the plan or something. China is doing 13,000. Why can't we create a LEO satellite grid in Ladakh? लगेंगे 5-6 साल, but क्यों सब है हमारे पास.
You see,
do these things.
I want to quote a example here for the public also. We launched these navigation satellites for our in conjunction with the Russians, I think. One of the satellites developed some fault, and thereafter the system is just lying in the space, roaming around. We have not operationalized it. somewhere I think these kind of focuses have to be brought back into our system so that we are not dependent purely on the GPS or on the other systems of the other countries. And we have developed some level of confidence as far as our space technologies go. Even there is a scope for a military purpose usage, and I'm sure Anil Bhatt would be doing something about it. But let's see on ground how things take place.
एक मैं
uh,
एक छोटी सी चीज और जोड़ना चाहूंगा सर.
mhm.
There has to be honesty. You look at air power in Ukraine. Russian air power, their air force was a very formidable force. Why has it proved to be so underwhelming? Because Russian air power has not fused with these other domains, rocketry, space, and other things. Why should we not do it in the Indian context? Look
even
at why
even
air power was so underwhelming in Russia. Draw
mm,
those honest lessons.
even
Yes,
even
sir.
in the case of assimilation of drone technologies, they have done it on the, I mean, during the war. Unfortunately, they
मैं
didn't
आपको
learn
एक
from the
छोटा
Armenian
सा
war also.
एग्जांपल देता हूँ. So these HIMARS came, sir. They were these wonderful precision systems.
Yeah.
HIMARS, till some Russian video gaming analysts learned how to fiddle with the GPS. And this very accurate precision system became an inaccurate mortar. These are the small things which are happening. ये HIMARS, a HIMARS battery, I'm told, after firing can upstick in 7 minutes. But in Ukraine, if it doesn't upstick in 2 minutes, जो आप ये कह रहे हैं ड्रोन का अटैक आ जाता है.
Mm.
So we have to invest massively in drones. अभी एक ये समीर जोशी है, अपना एक स्क्वाड्रन लीडर है जिसको बड़ा ये मिला है. Make him the drone advisor in the MOD. वो he will bring a revolution.
Correct.
So ये बड़े छोटे छोटे स्टेप्स हैं. अगर हम ये करेंगे अच्छी तरह से ये सब चीजें हो जाएंगी.
Okay, I think we are coming to the end of our discussion. We had promised to make it very short so that people are free to go for their evening cocktails if they have anywhere to go. There's a question which was from the audience. I think Brigadier Rajesh Srivastava has asked, Sir, when the world is looking for peace and economic growth, why then China has an offensive mindset, especially when the nation's geographical boundaries can be changed in today's one world? Yeah, so you answered this question. I mean, there can be only one tiger, but you can reiterate that particular question.
So Sachdeva was my chief engineer, so I must answer his question.
Okay.
So the Swami Vivekananda says, while Vasudev Kutumbakam is one way of looking at the world, Swami Vivekananda says that the world is a gymnasium where nations come to make themselves strong. So peace वगैरह सब चीज है, but the power dynamic is playing out in every way. So peace through strength. Invest in deterrence so that you don't go to war. So the question is not whether China will do this or why China will do that. You make yourself strong so that even if China wants to do this, China cannot do it. So peace through strength is my answer.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot ignore strength and hope for peace. You got to have the muscle. डंडा डंडा साथ में रखना जरूरी होता है, तभी कुत्ता आपके पास नहीं फटकेगा. नहीं तो कुत्ता भी आपके पास आएगा. So, and these are nations, not kuttas. So there's another question which is from RP. China's several economic indicators are orange and many are now flashing red. Is it internal problem or India is also instrumental, uh, being a growing economy with foreign investments? Okay, this is
So as
something
I
which.
said, I think it's a temporary blip.
Hmm.
China has grown over 4 decades. There's a Chinese saying that even a tree cannot reach the sky. At some time, the tree has to stop growing.
Yeah,
China
it's a
is
struggle.
perhaps in that stage, four decades of growth. There are blips. There have been mismanagements. Xi has made
Mhm.
some mistakes. But I think in the long run, the Chinese economy is pretty robust. It will recover. India ने क्या किया है? I can't establish the connect. I don't think India has much economic leverage with China. So I really don't have an answer to that.
Yeah, I mean, other than making statements, diplomatic statements, I don't think we have physically done anything anything worthwhile as far as either information war is concerned or even in terms of economic intervention, except for the fact that we have definitely put some bans on our imports, etc., coming from China, but and also encourage the settling down of the these, like Apple and other industries, Micron, I think Micron. These firms have come and established themselves in India. Tesla is the other one. Elon Musk firm which is trying to establish itself in India. So to that extent, we have caused a little bit of blip in the Chinese economy in terms of being one of the alternate destinations for economic supply chain, global economic supply chain is concerned. Other than that, I don't think we have done major in a major way. Uh, but I would
But
like to comment.
potentially we can do a lot. We are also a 141 crore market.
Yeah,
So
absolutely,
potentially, if
absolutely.
we have a look at all this supply chain relocation, friendshoring, all these opportunities that are coming, we can
Yeah,
pose a serious threat to the Chinese economy.
absolutely. So, thanks, Jan Shukla. I think it was a wonderful, short, quick discussion. I wanted to finish it within an hour. uh, my technical team says that we continue to drag on talking about the same thing in different languages or in different ways. Thanks a lot. Till we meet next time again, we will
Certainly, sir,
close out.
great
Yeah,
pleasure whenever. Thank you so much. It's
thank
wonderful
you
coming
very
on
much.
your show.
Thank you, and we end with our